This is Fred Richani of TSC. We have right here via Zoom a very special guest. He's an acting legend, a martial arts legend, an entrepreneur, the founder and head of filmone. You may know him from a number of films, including the legendary Tiger Claws. We're talking to the legendary Jalal Merhi. Jalal, thank you so much for the time. How's everything going?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we get to how you got to this point in your entrepreneurial and film and TV journey, I want to talk about what's going on with Film One right now. I heard you have a very special, well received restoration project going on, right?
Yes, the Tiger Claw series 1, 2, and 3, and it's coming out on Blu-ray anytime soon now, and we're already accepting the pre-orders, and it's doing well. And TC 2000, so they're all coming out. We restored it right from the 35 millimeter masters, so it's pristine. It's amazing as if it was shot yesterday. It looks very good. I'm very happy with it.
That's fantastic. And I understand too, you also just wrapped up working on the circuit series that we could be on the lookout for.
Yes. And everyone, the ones that know about Circuit 1, 2, and 3, and same character's journey, except right now also we're adding to him a possible son that he didn't know about because he be on the Circuit 3, he's on the road and running away from everyone he loves. But he doesn't know that he left a seed somewhere, and that adds complication to the story. It's quite interesting.
It's pretty interesting. And it's a very interesting time in showbiz, right? We had a period of time for years when it came to action films, characters, IP, where they'd always want to recast, right? I mean, I think Spider Man's the most notable example of that. And we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years that really a lot of people love certain IP and they want it to continue. We see that now with the streaming services. Of course, you're continuing the Circuit legacy with the Circuit series. Do you find that these days with all these streaming services that more people are reaching out to you about some IP that maybe you thought you wouldn't go back to?
Definitely, a lot of projects went back to life, and the audience is there. The audience is still there. I mean, we had a period of lull. I would say, we slowed down on the action films, but we were very busy with TV. We did a lot of project. I did 6 seasons of The Conspiracy Show. I did Soccer Dreams. I did, I would say, 4 or 5 seasons of kind of pet rescues. I did the Botox Queen of New York, 13 episodes. So I've done over 200 episodics TV in the last 8 years, but I didn't do any action films or action TV. And based on the reception I had, as soon as I put things online, we immediately got orders also for new TV shows and actually even films. And I'm reuniting with some old talents that we worked with. I like to always go back to the same people I worked with, as long as there's good taste in my mouth from the relationship. And most of them are wonderful, wonderful people. And with some new talent too that's coming up, and will be showcasing. So it's actually quite exciting.
One of your colleagues and real life friends that a lot of people love is the legendary Billy Blanks. Could we possibly see him back in the mix?
Oh, he will be for sure. I just finished shooting with him. He has a very nice, exciting episode in the series of the circuit. So he joins us there too, along with Olivia Gruner and a few other wonderful martial artists, and also a lot of younger talent.
And you've had, of course, success worldwide, including domestically here in the US. I know you go back and forth between Canada and the US primarily, but do you feel like with the age of streaming that it's made things a little bit easier as far as the world getting smaller? Like, I'll just give you an example. Like, these days, of course, you had a hit show in Vikings, technically a Canadian show. You have Working Moms on Netflix and a bunch of these other shows as well. So, do you feel like these days a lot more people in the US are more open to Canadian programming?
Well, I mean, I was never considered Canadian programming. I mean, my first two films, actually, when they got released, I remember in Cannes, I went there for the screening of Tiger Claws. And actually, in the description, the distributor was a US distribution. And at the time, I had a deal with Universal Studios. Universal was releasing it in North America. They actually wrote US as made. They didn't write Canadian because it doesn't fall into the Canadian format. So I never really had that problem one way or the other. I always had a foot in each place. And since I'm dual also, I'm able to work in both, places and both countries very comfortably.
And you were definitely ahead of the curve back in the day, still are. Of course, I mean, you own the rights to, I think, pretty much the majority of your content and your work. And on top of that, you look at some of the special effects you did in your back in the day with the green screen now, which I can only imagine the work that took. So looking back, like, do you really feel like that, even though some of the things you did might have been a pain back then, that they're really paying off right now?
You know what? I never complained about any of it. Don't forget. I mean, for me, it was a dream that came true. And whatever I did, people call me sometimes Smiley. Don't you see the world burning around you? You're calm and moving forward and putting out fires. You know what? It's never burning in my mind. In my mind, I'm just doing what I need to do to get the project done. So you're not going to see me angry as I'm working or flustered. I just work as much as I could and I make sure the projects are done. But when you're talking about green screen, special effects, the difference today and yesterday and talking when I did Expect No Mercy, it's it's so huge. I mean, we had 26 computers rendering day and night for weeks to get stuff that you could render now in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We had so much work, and we had to use at the time blue screen before the green screen because for film we used blue screen. And I mean, you had to light it perfectly in order to work. Like you could not go now. You could digitally track things and clean it and do it. It's a different world now with the editing software. You could do a lot of the work on your desktop. At the time, everything had to be optically done and cost a lot of money.
Now that your YouTube channel is at the point of, at the time of recording this, over 122,000 subscribers, that am I did it surprise you a little bit? Like, wait a minute, there's still people that not only remember me and think fondly about this, but also have a demand for my action content.
It actually moved up pretty fast because I did not really open it up properly till almost a year and a half ago. So that happened, I believe, pretty fast because before I just had few things there and nothing much, and I never pushed it. But the moment I start seeing other people trying to put my stuff illegally on their network, and they were showing millions of views on my stuff. So I immediately took action and I had to shut them down. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm losing a lot by not having enough confidence in my own stuff. And it just moved like lightning the moment people discovered what it is. And I could see it's growing every day. So you're talking really the growth to where we are in less than a year or a year. That's the growth, like the major growth when you look at the line of growth of the Film One YouTube channel.
Definitely. And we recommend all our subscribers to check out the Film One YouTube channel. A lot of great content, a lot of full series, a lot of full movies. So if you're in the mood to binge watch some awesome content, definitely check them out. Now, of course, you're not just known for your awesome action films, you're not just known for a lot of your reality content as well, and being an entrepreneur. You're known as an epic martial artist. So I'm just curious, let's go all the way back to when this journey first started. What came first for you, martial arts or show business?
Martial art, definitely. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 11 years old. And that's what opened the door for me into show business. Although I studied film, but I remember my professor in George Brown College in Toronto telling me, listen, buddy, he had a nice English accent. He was like 6 foot something. He's, uh, a guy that you would feel, oh, he belongs in movies type of thing. And he was writing a script and he's an artist. But somehow he was of the mindset that if you don't look like him, you don't belong somehow. So he actually told me to my face one day after we did the whole scene, and he said, you did good today, but listen, don't waste your money, son. You should just go do something that is good for you. Maybe he thought I'm using my last dollars to get into the school. He didn't know I was doing well. I was successful in my jewelry business, so I didn't need money. But I think he felt bad for me that you're not gonna make it. He told me, listen, not even one in a million make it, guy. Why are you wasting your money? So, but I don't want to say much. 5 years later, I released my first film. I think he was still trying to sell his first script, so we're okay.
of course, full disclosure, we're longtime friends as well, real close with your son. My dad and your dad actually went to the same elementary school back in the day in Shuaifat, Lebanon. Just curious, did you go from Lebanon to Brazil?
No, I was born in Brazil.
Okay.
I was
So,
born in Brazil. Then I came, my parents wanted me to go and get to know the grandparents. So I went there a little bit. Then I came to Canada,
and when did you discover martial arts?
in Lebanon. I started in first. I started. My older brother was doing taekwondo with some friends in Beirut, and then after that, I joined a club myself. And but then the Civil War broke, so I came to North America. Then I joined. I was jogging in High Park in Toronto. I didn't know anyone yet. I was new, and I see a guy jogging wearing a kung fu T-shirt for a Mo Chao club. So I followed him. I think he thought I'm trying to hit on him first. It's like, "Hey, what do you want?" And he was ready to punch me. I said, "No, no, I just want to know, is this club? I always wanted to learn kung fu." And then he told me the address. I went there. So at least somebody introduced me to somebody. And the rest was history. I was already fit and flexible. So all what I needed is molding. And they helped me and molded me. At the same time, a couple of years later, I went back to the original. I was studying also Shotokan. And I continued with that till my second dan. So martial art was first. And then I started competition, and I never looked back. A lot of people helped me to go around to compete. I wasn't competing just in Toronto and Montreal and Ottawa. I started competing in the tri-state. I started competing in Ohio, and so I expanded the circle of competition in the late '70s and early '80s into the state quite a bit. Then there was a big tournament in Florida. It's called the Florida Open, and it used to be in, I think it's called Treasure Island or something in Tampa. And that was one of my bigger tournaments. Then I was invited to another one, Bermuda Triangle. This was a like 3-day tournament. Top of the action people in North America by invitation only would come in. And so I've done a lot of tournaments, and also I had my own tournament after a while. Once I won a whole bunch of tournaments, a grand championship in especially in weapons and other things. So I had my own tournament too, and we called it the Diamond Challenge. And that one was with partnership with a friend of mine at the time, Bill Pickles. And Pickles was a very well known and talented martial artist and competitor. And he's well known in the area, older than me. So he had a lot of people in the industry that he knew. So we gave actually the biggest gifts at the time for the grand winners. So we don't give them just trophies. We gave them diamond rings. We gave them cash.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people, including your buddy Sonny Onoo, he won one ring from me over there. Um, I believe Lang, Toki Hill, Cynthia Rothrock, they all won jewelry and those tournaments. So it became a very popular tournament for top American competitors too, because they want to come and just win something that's viable.
It worked out for you on the acting side. And of course, your martial arts career definitely came in handy. But when you really started blowing up in film in the 90s, a few other things were blowing up as well. A little organization called the UFC in Japan. You had Pancrase. Of course, you also had K1 kickboxing as well. Pro wrestling was starting to make a comeback a little bit. Your personal friend, Sonny Ono, of course, later became the Japanese liaison for WCW and all the different foreign talent and everything. Did you ever have any offers or contemplate getting into pro wrestling or mixed martial arts at the time?
We did try to get mixed martial arts in Canada at the time. I remember but it wasn't allowed any contact, and so we backed off it. And then in the '90s, after a while, after I did my first whole bunch of movies and it was successful, I actually slowed down just to be with the family. I had to, and it actually I don't regret it. So for I would say 7, 8 years, I really slowed things down into almost nothing, just so I could have more attention to my family and my kids, give more attention to them. I didn't realize that once you do that, other people are jumping in and moving forward, even trying to duplicate what I did and try to move forward. So it's the thing about entertainment. It the moment you slow down, there's somebody hungrier than you. It's gonna take your place and move on. It's not, and when you get back, you're actually not getting back same place. You're getting back a lot further down the line. Then you have to, you know, try to make up for it. So, but I don't regret a thing. You move in, want to slow down for action martial arts, and I found I wasn't able to do it for the satisfaction I want. I did other things. I did TVs, and I've done very well with TV, and so it gave me a nice bridge and a chance to continue.
You had a very successful jewelry business, and correct me if I'm wrong, the story goes that you eventually sold that jewelry business in order to fund your filmmaking and acting career. It's one thing to say, you know what, I'm going to get into show business, I'm going to become an actor. It's another thing to say, I want this whole thing on me and to be the guy running the show as well. So, when did that light turn on for you, and when did you realize that you could actually make this a reality?
Okay, that was a bit gradual because the first chance I had on acting, it was by chance. I won a grand championship in weapons in one tournament, and there was a producer there looking for a bunch of martial artists for a movie that he was producing, and it had in it it needed a group martial artist, and he needed them different colors and different looks, and I was one of the looks, so he picked me to be at the time what he wanted to be typically, uh, and I worked with him through it. So he brought us in, gave us the scripts, and they started training us so we could, get to know the show and each take its role. But then gradually I started realizing my role was a terrorist role, and I did not want that. So I actually refused it. Think about it. Now the guy said, "Well, because you're refusing, you want to be, you'll never be then. Because once you say no once, you never be." But financially, I wasn't hungry. Uh, and then he saw me, I think, from the window when I got down. I went down and I got into my Porsche and I drove away. Then he asked the other actors, and I heard this from the other actor, which were buddies of mine, martial arts. Who the F is he? Like, what does he do? Oh, he has jewelry wholesale and bunch of stores. Oh, okay. So I guess he doesn't need this. They give him my address of the wholesale office. He calls, makes an appointment. I go there. Hey, you don't. So he talks. He said, now suddenly he sees me as a source of money. He's a producer. He says, well, if you don't want this, you want something else, you could invest. You could get the investors, blah, 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 all these things. So that was one experience. I said, wait for a while. Then another group wanted me. Also, they knew I do the martial art. They knew about that project. Said, no, we got something else for you. They wanted me to wear a mask and be a double for another young guy. I was in my 20s at the time, late 20s. And I said, so you want me to do all the martial art and jump and roll and do all of this? And then he'll take off the mask and he'll take credit for it. After I went for a while back and forth, the guy was so arrogant. He got on my nerve. I said, I'm not the actor. I just said, I'm not doing it for him. So after these two incidents, I said, heck no, I want to do my own vehicle. And now I still had the jewelry business. So I did my first film. I put in a small budget. I figured, we do a low budget thing, but gradually start growing. And gradually I realized that filmmakers, sometimes they give you a number, doesn't mean that's the number. So when we hit the $500,000, I told the guy, well, okay, now we're going to do the post production. How are we going to pay for that? I told you the budget's 500. He said, oh, 500 for the production or full? I said, what? We agreed 500,000 for the production. Production means pre-production, production, post-production. It's a whole movie. Oh no, this is like I thought. He was full of it anyway. So we went through it. I paid for the extra. We finished the movie. But so the movie was a Black Pearls was a calling card more than anything initially. But because of Black Pearls, I got to Universal, I got to Shapiro House at the time, I got to Cineplex, and they saw quality filming. Definitely not the acting. The thing is, what I learned is I was doing so many things, working in the office, managing my business, on the phone back and forth, and being on sets. It was exhausting. So I figured I gotta do one thing or the other. And that's when I decided to sell everything. I bought a studio in East Toronto and built it up, set it up. And I said, that's it. I want to be in film business. I'll make my own studio, my own production. I'm good in sales. I'm good in this. And that I never looked back actually. I mean, it's not because I was never about the money in my life. It was about doing what I love. And if my money gave me what I love, that was good enough for me. I mean, anyway, you tell them, hey, you took what? You took $2.5 million and you bought the building. I actually bought the studio, bought the building. I didn't just rent. And then we started Tiger Claws 2, and I paid for writers to do it. And I pitched it out. I remember one guy in Telefilm Canada, when I showed him the script, because they're all about artistic films, he said, only your mother and aunt will watch this. This not gonna work. And you know what? Any film they've done, I don't think has a classic till now that people are still following or running after. So I've done better than most of them did. So I'm not complaining. And I never looked back. Immediately, I got a whole bunch of films financed and moved forward. And once you're successful, people come and throw money at you. So you better be careful how you handle it. Like it's there. But also the enemies will grow too. You're gonna have a lot of people you think they were your friends that are enemies. I mean, I would get phone calls that are prank calls. I mean, there was no at the time you can't see who's calling you.
Already, yeah.
Call, and I would get, "Hi, is that film one? Yeah, this is film two." And it's like things like boom, they hang up. And other people call, "Hi, we're calling from Universal. We want to make you a star." And then they will hang up. Like people will just call it stupid. I had so many calls, and I know all of them were people that know me and are idiots. You know, so
You went head first into this. You never looked back. It's an incredible story. But I would imagine because you didn't have a film background that you might have been prone to some mistakes. Were there any rookie mistakes that you made back in the day that you look back to, you're like, man, like if I had known.
well, I'm definitely. I remember my first movie. We have a scene. And they kept repeating the wide shot again and again. And the camera guy, the main guy, and he's a lovely guy. Eventually, we got to know each other and he understood me, I understood him. I guess everyone was trying to make his own reel. They wanted the sun, the moon to be in the right place, this in the right place. And then I said, listen, we can't, it's action, it's martial art. You can't repeat the same action 10 times. People are exhausted. Then when you come for close ups, we couldn't even move. So I start realizing I gotta take command of these things a little bit more because the crew did not know what it takes to do it. They thought, hey, you could do a flying spinning kick 10 times in a row. No, you can't. Especially if you're the whole day, 12-hour, 13-hour on set. And then the end of the day, you're doing the final fight of that night. You're doing all the close ups where the money shots are. Hey, you did it in the white shot. Now you can't do it anymore. So these are few things. So I started pushing little bit against the DP, pushing a little bit against the director. But sometimes when you push against the director, what happens? He stops directing. He says, okay, if you really know what you're doing, do this. And no, I need you for acting. And I'm not a good actor. So I was like, I know. So you have push, like you start seeing little bit of pushback. But to me, the important thing was the martial art. And I started realizing even my performance was suffering because I could not physically do certain things. Like I'm exhausted mentally and physically. So these are certain things that happen. But again, I don't regret. In the end, the product is there. What I would do again is I would have a little bit more separation. I'll try to build relationship more with people that you know and bring them on board that will look after you. You need to be protected. As an actor, if you're on screen, you need to be babysat and you need to be protected. Sometimes people don't realize what it takes from an actor to give a good performance, especially if you're doing action and trying to act. It's immensely, immensely draining. And you want to produce at the same time, you want to direct at the same time, and you don't have the budget to have doubles, you're in trouble.
Wow, that's so would you kind of compare that to like an athlete, even like a fighter? You got to protect the athlete from themselves sometimes. You got to make sure they have the proper
Yeah.
training, proper nutrition, and that they have the right game plan going in.
Yes. And also, you don't want them sitting there on the side of the ring getting their own water, you know, and ice, putting on their eyes. You need to be babysat a little bit. You need to be taken care of. You need someone to say, hey, you know what? You might pull a muscle if you did this. You just been doing a whole bunch of scenes and dialogue. Now you jump into a fight and then they want to change the lights and the weather is cold And now, okay, let's get back. We change the lights from side to side. When you're on set, you know what that takes. It just took 2 hours. You froze now. Okay, now let's do the same scene from different angle. Okay, could I go warm up a little bit? Well, we have it lit already. So you start, because it's your budget, you start thinking, if I don't do it, I'm gonna lose time. Then they'll shut down. You put the lights down. You know how the lights have to warm up. Yeah?
Mhm.
Like there's so many things in place. The camera guys are sitting and waiting. Okay, you know what? So it takes a while before you know exactly what's going on. And especially if you're on set all the time because you're actually a producer and you're directing a lot of the action. It's not like the actor that goes back to his trailer where a double is there in their place till they get the perfect shot. He just has to walk in or she and be there, take the shot, and they're only focusing on acting. There's a big difference. So yeah, what I would do definitely, I would have a whole separation. You need that for a good performance. You need that whole separation.
I mean, you've had so many job titles, worn a lot of different hats. Of course, family man being above all else. At your peak, as far as when you were acting, choreographing, doing all the stunts, teaching, and everything else, how did you juggle everything? How did you not go crazy at that time and were able to raise a family and everything like that?
As I said, it's tough to go crazy. I wouldn't because uh, I don't overextend myself. What I do and everything I do, I'm doing out of love. Like there was a single thing, even when I go at home to see the kids, it's out of love. It's not, oh my God, I gotta see the kids. If I'm reading, writing, if I'm choreographing, it's because I love it. When I'm shooting, it's because I love it. Like we're finished shooting by 2, 3 in the morning. I could barely see in front of me, but I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I was like, the only thing is, okay, what do I have to do tomorrow? I got to start planning tomorrow. We have this, this, and that. Also, I want to make sure that the money from the distributors is in place because it's paid day. Then I got the list. Who are we paying? How much? Are we staying on budget? What I was good at is looking after making sure we're on time and budget. How? To me, if you are late one shot, you lost an hour. If you lose an hour a day in 20-day shoot, you just lost 2 days of shoot. Simple. If you lose 2 hours a day, you lost 4 days of shoot. 4 days of shoot, you're talking about minimum on low budget, $100,000, on high budget, few $100,000. So to me, any shots that had to be before lunch had to be before lunch. Any shots had to be after lunch had to be after lunch. Never liked having crews work more than the hours there. Might go 12 hours maximum, no more. I did not like the 18-hour days that my crew sometimes say, oh, that's set, we worked 18 hours. To me, 18 hours, you're looking for trouble and you're looking for accidents. So we did not do that. Uh, I'm glad I came from business because I remember having that discussion with my first filmmaker when I told you about 500,000. And he said, oh, this is art. It's film business, like it's artistic. You don't know the budget. I said, no, no, it's called film business. Film and business. Business is you got to be on time, on budget. Listen, we have leeway 10%, no more. Your leeway is 10%, no more. Good. The 10%, it's in the budget. But anything above that, we're losing money. And distributors don't like that.
Really, I feel like this has been a master class on how to run your own film company and just really kind of run a business and stay on top of it. And I love the fact that you talked about like, hey, I don't want to do these 18-hour days. Screw this burnout. I mean, I feel like every workplace, especially when it comes to entertainment, whether it be film, whether it be video games, there's so much crunch culture, grinding, hustle culture that you forget that these are human beings. And at the end of the day, safety physically and mentally should be paramount.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I see sometimes younger guys and trying to impress their bosses, and they literally enslave others. They'll be pushing the whip and trying to scare you with the guy above you and above him. To me, that's abuse. And the problem is a lot of people from business think, oh my God, if I say no, I'll never work again. Because there are gatekeepers that sometimes don't let you work. But there is always another project somewhere else. There's always something else. I believe if you're good, you can make it. It doesn't matter what genre. like no excuses. Anyone who says, "Oh, so and so, I can't make it because so and so, I can't," nonsense. I'm a guy that when I started, they only wanted to put me in roles, either cover my face or have me as a terrorist. I Instead of getting upset, I changed the approach. So, and I made something that was needed. And if you do something that they could use in the business, they're gonna take it from you. No one says no to making money as long as you're a decent person. Don't try to cheat anyone. But give me something I could use. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from, what's your color, what's your nationality. Give me something I could use. And I found out people in power are the same thing. All you have to do is give them something they could use. Give them something they need. Find the hole somewhere and go find it. Like find something somewhere. Like when I got Soccer Dreams into Fox, it was the right time. There was a place they needed something. You get in. So it's like, how do you get in? How do you get Universal? How you get here, there? Alliance, Blockbusters. Before they went out, I had 3 picture deals with them, and they could have stayed in business. I mean, because I knew the executives there very well, and one of the last executives they had is a good friend of mine till now. And the only thing is, the only reason they went out of business, it's greed of shareholders to cash out. But they had the money. They actually one of the executives, the person, he approached me down. He said, "Guys, we own all these products. We could go digitally and have same thing what Netflix is doing." He offered that we could do it. The old executives on top of him and the money people which want to cash out and sell the properties, they said no. We're all about them coming into the store, and if they come to the store to rent one movie, they're gonna buy popcorn. They'll buy another old movie because you remember the old used movies used to be. You were too young, so their thought was not wrong, but it was wrong because they did not see the future. And the sad part, the executives who saw the future lost their job and they didn't make money. But so to me, they were good to me. I did very well with the last 3 films with them, and which was the circuit. And the rights reverted back to me after. So, you know, that's all good because what I do when I make the movies, I license them, I do not sell them.
Very smart. Very smart. Obviously, it worked out, and I'm sure you had to have some foresight as well, right? To think that, hey, one day, no matter the medium, I don't know how many people foresaw streaming, 20, 30 years ago, but I'm sure you thought in the back of your mind, like, I want to be able to have residuals from these for the rest of my life.
We're
Yeah.
trying. The good thing is we're able still to produce, and we're producing a lot of new stuff that is good and giving us room to breathe. So, and we're okay. Listen, I'm doing what I love. It's all about doing what you love. To me, you don't work a single day when you do what you love. So just enjoy it.
Now, before we let you go, we always like to ask all our guests some kind of random rapid fire questions just for fans to get to know them better. Are you ready?
Go ahead. Please try.
Favorite late night snack or cheat meal?
Actually, I'm into nuts, like, Zura, the nuts, just yeah, all kinds, pistachios, yeah, nuts.
Most awkward moment as an actor?
Sex moment, love moments, they're the worst.
Most awkward moment as a filmmaker slash producer? Any awkward moments when it came to filmmaking or when it came to some of the series that you've produced?
Uh, Definitely, we had that, and I mean, there's a. I'm not saying it's most, but it's always something. I was in a meeting with a major executive, and I didn't know that he had people above him. We were in a huge boardroom, like 12, 13 to 15 chairs boardroom. We had like 4 or 5 people, and I'm discussing a multi-picture deal with everyone in the room. And the voice in there, "Hi, this is so and so," there on the speaker came from the middle of the table. Think of like a big, huge thing. I don't want to say the network or the group. And the voice came, and we talked a bit, but the voice was a little bit belittling me in a way. It's like, "Yeah, well, we want you, but not like the chop socky stuff you do, and few things like I just felt everything he was saying is like, I want you, but not this. And that's when I said, like, then why do you want me? This is what I do. I'll make it better with better budget that you give me. And by the way, I saw the last films you guys released for the money. It wasn't on screen. Uh, y- so I insulted their last film. I didn't realize that he personally was behind it. I didn't realize that he is God. And yeah, that was awkward because that was the end of the relationship with that network.
Well, lesson learned, right? To an extent.
Yeah, he kept pushing me in a way I felt that I don't know. It was just natural for me to defend myself, but again, sometimes you gotta shut your mouth and just move on. And one of the executives there said, "I worked so hard to get you there. You blow it in one sentence." I said, "Well, I couldn't. I just couldn't."
Oh man,
But hey, I'm still alive.
there you go. Wh- I know this is a hard question, but I gotta ask you to narrow it down a little bit. Favorite spots in Lebanon?
Honestly, it's like simple little creek in my grandparents' hometown and land. Like really, it's called Harbiye. It's like little creek, gorgeous creek. As a kid, I used to go there and drink the water directly from it. That's how beautiful and sweet. And it had all the fruits, everything that the little piece of land. It had from bananas to grapes, all kinds of grapes, to like so many fruits in it. It's not even like it's like a piece of heaven on earth and lots of water. And I remember sitting next to the creek, just listen to the water and take the food with me, sit down there, drink, use my hands, just put up my hand from the creek, drink, and it's such peacefulness. And I keep thinking of it all the time. Wherever I go, I said, "Oh, this is almost the same." You know, I was in Bermuda and I remember passing by a little area and it was similar. And they had similar fruits there too. And one of them is called the academia. I don't know what's in English. And it's like, uh, I don't know, there's certain places that really affect you and stays with you.
You're really good friends with Sonny Onoo. You guys kind of came up together. He, of course, is famous for being an on-air personality in WCW and the liaison for Japan for WCW. I brought him up earlier, but I didn't ask you outright. Did Sonny Onoo ever ask you, "Hey, Jalal, are you going to come to WCW?"
No, I mean, he does what he does. I do what I do. No, he didn't. Listen, I do different things, but we communicated a bit in the beginning. Then we lost contact. He got busy. I got very busy. I remember him also on set, and after being on set, he'll bring his daughter with him. He had a little baby in the 90s. Now must be a young lady, early 30, should be 30, 31 years old. And to me, he was a dear person. But again, life moves on and you start sometimes you have a lot of wonderful people you love that it's almost like a revolving door. One moves in, one moves out. You love them all because you build so many relationships. And it's funny. We were 2019. I was entered into the Black Belt Hall of Fame in Canada, and then all these old faces were coming. People I haven't seen in 35, 40 years, or 30 since competing, and then you see, start. They come and hug me, and moments of like that were lost so long ago come back, a certain warmth. Then you realize I'm so rich, like that I have so many people that I actually care about and care about me. So they see me more because of the movies. I don't see them, but you only have so many hours a day between your family and kids. And I try to be as, how should I say, as loving as I could to everyone I know, but you could only do so much. I mean, I can't even answer all the Facebook. I know I don't like my on my Facebook. There's only 5,000 people, so I could get in 5,000, then get rid of some older ones that I don't recognize. And you can't even accept everyone. And a lot of people will send me messaging through Facebook. I don't answer because for a while I tried it. My phone kept on ringing and it was random people I don't even know. So I don't use Messenger at all. Uh, so people who really know me get to me, just let them comment on something. I'll comment back and somehow I'll get to them. But yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard. Sometimes I want to hug everybody, but I can't. So I'm lucky and that I could go back different events and meet different people. It's funny. like from community of martial arts to community of jewelers. Like JJ now is back in the jewelry, and because I kept the business, my mom kept
And if for those that
one city.
and sorry, for those that don't know, JJ's your son, one of your sons.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, my mom kept one of the retail outlets going till the late 2000 and 10, 11, and then my son JJ got into it. So a lot of my old friends are there and going in. Like few day last month, he was at a friend of mine place, a well-known rabbi. He's really big, one of the bigger jewelers in there. And then he FaceTimes me, just, hey, look where I am. It was nice to see them again. You feel like, oh my God, I love those people so much. I was with them for 15 years almost on daily basis. And between that and the filmmaking and the martial art and the jewelry and the community and I'm overwhelmed with love, honestly.
Speaking of love, how important is it to pick the right partner?
Oh, it's this. I think it's key. It's key because if you can't have peace at home, you can't have peace anywhere. You
Very
might as well not have it. Honestly, I'd rather people separate than be angry at each other. You don't want to go home and say, "Oh my God," you don't want to dread going home. You want to love going home. So that's important.
What made you in recent years say, you know what, I run this very successful company. I've done everything under the sun. And I'm a family man. You know what? I'm gonna add another thing to my resume. Opening a restaurant.
Well, I mean, that's I can't take credit for that. That's my daughter and my wife and my son, my kids. They did it. To me, I'm just financing it and just walk in and say hi and eat a good sandwich or a nice plate of whatever. But um, hey, why not? If that's what they wanted, they listen. They did it for last 7 years very successfully. 5 stars, 4.5 stars, right through. Um, it's they did very well. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, we'll be going strong again. But just now, because of COVID and everything, we decided just guys, it's too much for us, everything, and because I can't help you there either. So take a break, 5, 6 months, and then see what happens later. But they did very well. I'm very proud of them.
We're gonna ask you, what's the best piece of advice you give everybody for success?
Work, love your work. Just love your work. That's it. You gotta learn it and love your work. You'll succeed. Doesn't matter what you do. Anyone who succeeds in anything, I see people doing things that never came into my mind. I never thought of it, and they're successful. They loved it. Pick something you love and do it. Find a way to do it differently than somebody else did it. You'll succeed. It's not always about money, by the way. It's happiness and enough for you to live. I mean, listen, you can't work for free, but you gotta succeed in it and enjoy your life, have enough to live good life. It's there.
Fantastic. Jalal, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. Before we let you go, where can fans find you and Film One online?
Filmone.ca or film-1.com.
Jalal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Take care.